and hello to everyone tuning in to our May Lunch and Learn. We have a fun feature to showcase today, which is our Invoices Templates feature. So we have a very straightforward agenda. We're going to talk through what invoice templates are and why you might want to leverage them. And then we'll go through the demo, showcasing the designer tool and customizing our own invoice. Afterwards, we'll summarize the steps needed to get this up and running on your side. And at the end, we can talk through any Q&A. So before we dive into the feature, let's talk about where we started. Prior to invoice templates, there was no customization options when it came to your invoices. This meant that there was no flexibility to change layouts or styling, which limited your ability to make invoices feel like your brand. Additionally, there was no preview function, which would allow you to see what the invoice would look like for a particular customer. So while this setup worked, it definitely left a lot to be desired. And this is where we are today, where we've introduced a totally new way to build invoices using a drag and drop designer tool that's actually visual. This allows you to make changes and see what you're building as you go. You can drop in fields where you want and adjust the layout and preview it in real time, making it a much more intuitive experience. You can also create different templates based on your setup, and you can apply these to different companies and or account types. So this is very useful if you're running multiple companies in your instance and prefer to have distinguished branding. In summary, it gives you the freedom to make your invoices their own. So why might customization be important? Well, we tend to think of invoices as transactional, but they're much more than that, as they provide an opportunity to have a direct line to your customer. Every time your subscriber opens their invoice, it's a chance to reflect your brand. And if it looks and feels like your company, it builds trust. Additionally, invoices are also a great space to communicate and not just charge. You can use the real estate in your invoice to include messages to advise on operational reminders, or use to promote your services to your customers every month. So this is what it looks like for some real life examples. In the first one here, we're using a large promotional image to call attention to a new feature or service. This is really effective as it grabs the customer's eye immediately, more so than a line of text would. The second example here, we show how you can use your invoice to communicate operational updates, like service changes or scheduled maintenance. So it's a reliable way to make sure important info gets seen. And the last example is a creative way to use QR codes that links to a page about a new service, for example. This is a smart way to drive engagement, as customers can scan and get more info instantly right from their invoices. So these are a few examples of how you can use your invoice to communicate with your customers. So how does this work? So we're going to go into a demo of this. And for our demo, we're going to walk through a quick example where we manage multiple company brands in our instance, one of which is our company Go George. And while the default invoice is functional and serves its purpose, it feels too generic, as it doesn't capture the tone or style that makes Go George memorable to our customers. We're also about to launch a new service under the Go George brand. And as we saw in the previous example, we want to promote it directly on the invoice. So this is exactly where custom invoice templates can come in. We're going to build a template just for Go George, making it match our brand's look and feel, and use that space to communicate directly with our subscribers. All right, so let's start off by navigating to the Settings Financial Invoice Template section. Oh, sorry. Pardon me. So you can see here, we're going into the Settings Financial section and Templates. And here we can see a full list of all the templates in our instance. We can see if it's been enabled, and we can also see what companies and or account types it's been applied to. We also have the option to edit or delete any templates in our instance as well. But for our use case, we're going to go ahead and create a new template. So we're going to want to make sure that the invoice is enabled, and we're going to name the template. So Go George template. And in the next section, we have the option of how we want to apply this invoice. So the first option here, we can apply it as a default template, which will be used for all invoices in the instance. So this will work if there's no other templates that have been specifically applied for a company and or account type. But for our example, we want to make this apply specifically for Go George. So we'll move to the top and click Go George under the company section. I want to pause here as well to show that you can select multiple companies to apply the invoice to if you so choose. But for us, we're going to go with Go George. And in the next section, again, you have the option to specify which account type you want to apply it to. So if you want to have different templates for residential versus commercial accounts, for example, you can do that. But for our example, we're going to apply it to all account types. So we're going to leave this blank. All right. So moving into the next section. Okay. So now we can start to look into designing the template. One thing I want to call out here is that you will be able to design your template for the remittance slip version as well as the non-remittance slip version. For our use case, we're going to start off designing everything under the remittance slip version, and then we're just going to copy those changes over to the other section afterwards, which we'll show. As we scroll down to the editor, you're going to see we have 2 pages by default. The first page is the blank canvas where we can start to customize. And then the second page is the transactions page. We also have the ability to choose or add additional pages if we choose to. But let's focus back in on the transactions page. You can see here that there's limited customizability on this page, but there are some things that we can choose to add if we want. In the header data section, there are various data blocks that we can add or data points that we can add regarding the account, the company, or the invoice. So here, if we chose a couple and we apply it, we can apply this to any of the pages. So for example, the first page, the transactions page, or the additional page if we choose to. But for our use case, let's just remove that for now. And we also won't need the third page here, so we're just going to remove that. Okay, so let's move back to the first page. And this is where, again, we can start creating our invoice from this blank page if we so choose. But to make things easier, we also have the opportunity to select from a base template, which you can choose any of the existing templates that you've created in your invoice. And here we've applied just the Sonar default template as our starting point. Right now it's been copied again to the remittance slip version and the non-remittance slip version, and we're editing the remittance slip version. Okay, so we have all the standard formatting that we would expect. And on the left-hand side, I want to show the different controls you have to support you as you're designing. So you can explore all of these, but for our use case, we're going to just use the ruler, the margins, and the grid to help support aligning the various data blocks and logos and things like that. Also, within the controls, you have the ability to view the invoice in statement mode if you so choose. And you can also see what it looks like if you've enabled the past due stamp for any delinquent invoices. But let's remove that for now. And right now, I just want to see exactly what this looks like for a customer of ours under Go George. So let's filter by our Go George company and choose a specific invoice where we can see what this will look like when rendered. And as you can see here, we get the Sonar default template exactly how we would expect it. Okay, so let's start off with editing now. So we can go into the full screen mode um, of the editor to give us more space to see what we're working on. And I want to clear out some of this data so that we have our space to kind of build our design. So here you can see any data block, I have the option to delete using that function there. And I want to clear out the middle section as that's where we're going to add the promotional image regarding the new feature that we are just about to launch. Lastly, at the bottom, I just want to add, clear up some additional space to make it look a little bit cleaner for us. Okay, so now that we have our space, the first feature I want to show is the drag and drop. So here you can see any data block, we have the opportunity to move around and reposition as we choose. So I'm just going to reposition the customer address and our company address down to the bottom left of the top section. And then next I want to show, we're going to reposition the logo and also resize it. So you can see here that when we click this button in the top left, that locks the aspect ratio for the logo, and we have full customizability to adjust the logo size as we choose. So here you can see we're finding the right size and we're going to position it correctly. Okay. All right, next I want to show what you can start adding towards your invoice to start filling it out or customizing it yourself. You have two options here at the top. There's the insert data block option and the insert open block option. We're going to start with the insert data block option. And here you can see that there's a list of various data blocks that you can choose from that are related to your account details, billing details, or company details. These are available as long as you've configured them in your instance. And within the within the KB article, you can have full details on what data blocks are available and how you can configure them within your instance in your settings section. But for us, we're going to go and we inputted the invoice summary data block. So you can see this filters for with it for each account, it's going to show the exact charges, taxes, credits, and everything related that the customer needs to know regarding their invoice. So once we've added that, we can again adjust the text size as we need. We have the customizability to add the borders and resize that as well. But we're just going to reposition this into the right side here. Okay. So the next one I mentioned before, we have the opportunity to insert a open block. And there are two options when we open that up. We can insert a text box or an image. We're going to start off with a text box. And this allows us to, instead of inserting a specific data block, we can input any text that we choose. So here, I just want to add a title for our invoice and just call it invoice. And all of the standard formatting expectations for text you will see. So you can bold it, italicize it, strike it out, or underline it. We're just going to increase the text size a bit and realign it to the right side, just for formatting. Okay, great. Next, I want to show again what else you can do with the insert custom text field. So we're going to do the same. But this time, instead, we have the opportunity to add variables, predefined variables from our Sonar instance that are related to either the account, the invoice, or the company. So in this case here, you can see I choose that variable button, and those options are available for us to choose from. And I can choose the invoice number to kind of populate specific to the account when it's being rendered. So we're going to make those changes. And this is helpful if you want to add, for example, custom messaging, um, and you want to fill in specific details for the customer or the company, things like that. You have the opportunity to use these variables to fill it out so that it's customized to the customer when it's rendered. For the top section, we're going to do two more data blocks here. We're going to add the account number. Again, we're going to realign it to the right side so that it's all formatted correctly. And then for that top section, we want to add one more data block, the invoice due date. So we'll repeat that step. Perfect. So final touches on that top section. And when we zoom out a bit, we can see that the top section is looking good. And now we have this full area in the middle to use to promote our new feature or new service in this case that we want to provide for GoGeorge. So next up, we're going to choose again the insert open block option, but instead we're going to choose the image selection, which allows us to upload any image of our choosing. So here, let's choose a custom image that we're using to promote our new service. We can position it and resize it like we saw previously and make sure it fills up that space as we want it. Okay, as we zoom out, the invoice is looking good, how we want it. I think what we want to do next is see what this looks like for a specific customer with the changes we've made. So let's go again to the preview button, and we'll use the same customer example, Elaine and her invoice, to see what it looks like with the new changes. Awesome. So you can see here, the variables have been filled up specific to the customer as we expected. All of the changes regarding the positioning and the logo are showing, as well as the custom image that we're using to promote our product. And the transaction page is the same as usual. So now that we're happy with our invoice, we can go ahead and create it. And now within our list, you can see that the new invoice has been created for GoGeorge. It's applied to our company, and we are ready to make any changes as we want. So if I go into the next slide, I want to show quickly that after creating the invoice, you have, again, that flexibility to update it as you see fit or delete it. But here we're going to update it. Let's say we want to make a change to the first page and reposition some text. So let's just move that down here. And we have two options of areas where we can save it. You can save it at the top there or at the bottom. And we get the confirmation that it's been saved. And when we go back, we can see that that has been saved and updated for our invoice. And lastly, we mentioned before that we focused all our design changes on the remittance slip version. And you can see here, moving into the non-remittance slip version, it's still showing the Sonar default template. So there's no need to recreate all those designs or customizations from scratch, at the top right here, you'll see the copy from remittance slip button. And that's going to copy all the changes that we've already made. And we're going to want to save that for our invoice. Okay. Now that we're happy with our invoice template, let's say we want to go ahead and launch this for our next billing cycle. This can be found in the billing settings section. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see enable invoice templates, which you can select. And this is going to allow you to have that ready to render as your template for the next billing cycle. Perfect. So our final results, we went from the Sonar default template on the left here to the new custom template that we were seeing here on the right. So now that we've covered how the feature works, we can talk about what it takes to start using in your instance. First, you want to make sure that the data blocks you plan to use are configured. These are really the building blocks that pull in things like your company logo, tax ID, customer portal URL, and so on. So if you skip this step, those fields won't populate correctly in your templates. Again, there's a full list and setup instructions available in the knowledge base article that you can view. The next step, you want to make sure your team has the right permissions. The admins will need to grant access to view, create, update, and delete invoice templates. And once that's completed, you're ready to start looking at the design editor, and you can start customizing the template to your liking, applying it to the specific companies and/or account types that you choose. Finally, once you're happy with the invoice that you've created, you can go to the settings, billing settings section to enable the invoice template so that it's ready to run on your next cycle. Perfect, and that takes us to the end of our presentation. So if there is any Q&A, we can talk through it now.
Thanks, Warren. That was amazing. I didn't see any comments come through, but I'm still learning myself with all these new features. So I definitely have a couple questions for you. First one is, if you change a customer's account type or company, will their assigned invoice template automatically update once you apply those changes?
Yes, exactly. So if you change an account type, as long as it's been set up in the invoice template section, upon the next invoice running cycle, you will see the new render template applied. So this will be a go forward action for the customer's invoices.
Amazing. And kind of along the same vein, if an account has a template that has both a company template and an account template, two separate templates set up, and an account has both of those, which one takes priority?
Yes. So depending on the account, it's going to follow the logic of the company application and the account. So if you've set up a specific template for a company, and let's say a company and a residential account, that's going to be applied to the template. If there's no specified account, but it falls within the company, it's going to fall under that company template. And then again, if there's no rules at all applied, then it's going to default to the default template that you set in your instance.
Perfect. Okay, and last one from me. If any of our customers here today have any of those custom service or billing settings set up, such as if the amount of a service on an invoice is 0, to show or not show that service, or to roll up taxes on an invoice. If someone has those customized and enabled, will that apply to your custom invoice template as well?
Yes, correct. So all the billing settings will continue to reflect on the invoice if you enable the invoice templates.
Perfect. Okay, well, this was really exciting. I'm excited to see what customers do to customize their templates. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you to Warren, and we will see you again at the end of June for our next Lunch and Learn. Have a great Friday, everyone.